really taken. I haven't actually been there. She couldn't figure out what she was doing. That's what I tried to run to.
It's been a plan of ours for decades, waiting for an opportunity to do this. Our original thoughts were a bed and breakfast with a tea room on the side, but in the end of the day we just wanted to just confine it to the tea room.
Tearooms started in Glasgow with Stuart Cranston, who was Miss Cranston's brother, back in the late 1800s. So they were always popular, and I used to go to Tearooms with my mum and my gran when I was young. I had left a job I was in and I had redundancy money, and I wanted to do something that I could have for the rest of my life. So I approached Henderson the Jewellers, who was in this building, and I opened a tea room here in 1983.
The tea room started initially before the kind of wholesale side of things started. Erica took a break from being a lawyer and went to several tea plantations in kind of India and Sri Lanka and China as well. Visited all these plantations and thought, I need to get Britain back in love with tea again, and brought all these great ideas back into Edinburgh. And she built kind of the etiquette brand, everything like that, and then opened this tea room back in 2008, and we've been here ever since.
Well, I moved to Auchtermuchty because I was working between Perth and St Andrews, and I found myself travelling to Perth in the morning, St Andrews in the afternoon, back to Perth at night in the catering trade, and that became very frustrating. And then this place came available 21 years ago, and I decided to see if I could run my own tea room. So I opened on the 22nd of May 1994, and everything's just developed from there.
I used to have a nursing home, and I enjoyed customer care, and I used to do cooking and baking there. I've always cooked and baked, and I don't find that bit hard, but I do also enjoy meeting people, and my friend suggested it to me, basically.
Well, the reason I started Tearoom was because of family circumstances. I separated from my husband, and I had a hotel at the time and the tea room, and I needed to find more time for my children. That's why I focused on the tea room, sold the hotel and focused on the tea room. And my mother also had a tea room, so it sort of runs in the family.
I've done cake for quite a while. My dad has a tea room and bed and breakfast in Derbyshire, and I guess it just sort of progressed from there. I used to work there during the summer, and then when we came home I thought it was a good idea. There's a lack of decent tea rooms in the area, so we decided just to go with that.
It was a sort of long-term dream I had of having my own tea shop. I've always liked baking and liked being hospitable, and so one of the things that I felt when my two older children were quite young was that it would be so nice to have my own tea shop. So it's been a long-term aim, if you like.
I'd always wanted to have a tea room, actually, from when I was a young girl, when I visited tea rooms in the early days. I actually worked in financial services, and decided I had enough of that, so I decided to pursue, do a wee bit of research, business planning last year, and this premises came up, and really proud of it actually. Kind of vintage tea rooms, reverting back to the old days really, so I think I've achieved everything I wanted from it.
Well, I actually took over the tea room. So it was started by Kirsty Fitzgerald, who was a friend of mine and my sister's, and I took it over this time last year, so I've just had it for a year. It was something that someone else started up, and I liked the idea of, and when she decided that she was moving on to something else, she offered it to me, and I've taken it on from then.
I think almost they get too big to be producing things that are the same quality everywhere. They lack a personalisation that people seem to need in the 21st century. It's great if you are in perhaps a big city where you probably don't know your neighbours anyway.
I think they serve two different purposes. If you go to Costa and Starbucks, Cafe Nero, they're all about going in, having a coffee and leaving again, or somebody sitting maybe on the computer, getting Wi-Fi. It's a completely different scene. When you come in to have a cup of tea, I think it's more of a tradition, it's more of a ceremony.
We're very proud of being independent, and quite a few people think that this is a chain, that we're everywhere else. But, we sell our tea and other businesses serve our tea, but this is just us. And, I wouldn't think they're really competition as such. They have their own kind of thing. Independent tea rooms and coffee houses, they would we specialise in. We're very proud of what we serve and our uniqueness, I suppose, as well.
Yeah, I think it's important to have an independent business, especially in a smaller community. And people then feel they have a stake in it rather than just being part of a chain. So it's important for the community point of view.
I think it's like everything. I think it's nicer to have something individual where people feel more valued, because they are, it's a more individual place where people make an effort with them. It's not about the name of the product. It's about them.
A lot of the coffee houses are all the same. I mean, you could basically be anywhere. Everywhere's got a Starbucks or a Costa's or whatever. There's not very many individual ones, and I think they're not as dedicated to customer service as an individual person is.
It's done us a great service, because before things like Starbucks and Costa and these types of places, nobody would have dreamed of paying for a sort of deluxe type coffee. So it's done us great favours there, and hopefully Hetty's can be a trailblazer to getting people to pay for luxury teas.
I think they serve a purpose, and I have a Costa coffee myself every now and again. But I've got a unique selling point in so far as it is an independent tea shop. It's totally different to any experience that you'd have in any of the chains.
I think they're not individual. It's that what you get is you can guarantee to more or less get the same if you go into each and every one, but I don't think they necessarily get the quality of service.
They've kind of made a bridge between what coffee used to be like before, which was pretty bad, and then they brought it up a wee bit, and now the kind of newer places that are coming out, which are more independent places, the coffee's really good, and people are starting to become to expect that from a place. And I think, especially in Glasgow at the moment, there's a lot of people moving away from the chain places because the coffee isn't as good, and so they're going somewhere, generally an independent place, where the coffee is much better. People care a bit more.
Yes, in a smaller environment, in a more localised environment, where you've got people whom you can get to know on a personal level. They can know the owners and you can know the locals, and you can have a good variety of regular clientele.
Definitely, yes. Again, last week I was down in London and I went to the Wolseley in London, and again they have the silver teapots and we can have afternoon tea. We went to the Dorchester and we had afternoon tea. Now that's not a tea room, but they still do all the traditional teas and cakes and cake stands. And I think no matter where you go around the world, even if you go to America now, they have all the more like a Starbucks place, but they have little tea emporiums popping up all over the place.
Absolutely. There's such a big thing in our culture, I think, and the way that the tea rooms might look will change, but I think the whole idea will remain the same, that it's somewhere that everybody from all ages, all different kind of cultures can come here. We get tourists as well as locals, they all come here. We have good tea and good cake and afternoon tea, and it's always been the same, and I think it always will be.
Oh, definitely. We run not just as a tea room, we also open in the evenings, we do parties, we do outside catering, we do all sorts of events, and try and be as much a part of the local village as possible, get involved in as many things as we can.
Tea rooms are almost like what pubs used to be, only it's during the day, you know, where people can meet and get to know other people in the community. I mean, our tea room, we get all ages and all types of people come in here, and they've got, I hadn't realised how many people actually meet other people in here that they didn't know before.
Definitely, we have a lot of positive feedback. A lot of people have said it's like they feel like they're going to their grannies on a Sunday, especially because it's china cups and proper teapots and tablecloths. But no, we haven't had any negative feedback as such.
Yeah, definitely. Not just with tourists, which is a given, but with the people who want to hold on to the tradition. And there's nothing nicer than going in and getting the old-fashioned china and the old-fashioned service, and just a little hark back to the olden days. Afternoon tea is a very British thing. It doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. And for a tea room serving afternoon tea, people absolutely love it. It's a treat.
Absolutely. It's an upcoming market again now. People love to go out for afternoon tea. A lot of the hotels now offer afternoon tea. And I think there's definitely, because most people are very busy, they're working or they've got families, they're rushing about here, there and everywhere. They don't have time to bake and make traditional teas anymore, and often you don't want a traditional tea every day, but so it's always very nice for them, you know, to have the choice of going for afternoon tea.
I think what encourages folk into this is the tea rooms, the tables are set and they're adorned, really, kind of thing. If folk are tempted to try tea, I think they're more sociable. I think they're more social venue, to be honest, and I think we're finding people are coming because of that.
We're getting busier and busier and busier, so that proves that people are still wanting or are rediscovering tea. We have over 30 different types of tea, and you know, people come in here and try flavours that they didn't know there was, or infusions, or you know, things like that, and or even they'll try our Assam that we have in, and they're like, wow, that's so different to a different Assam, and they just kind of realise that there's more to tea than teas.
I think it's atmosphere and environment. There's something about drinking tea that is to be enjoyed in an environment that reflects the tea.
I think it's a quick social thing, meeting someone for a cup of tea. I know, as I said, I did it with my mum and my gran. We always, when we came shopping, stopped for a cup of tea, and I think that's still the case these days. The likes of us here in the Willow Tea Rooms, we have tourists that come to Glasgow, and this is one of the places that they say is a destination. They'll come here because they know about the Willow Tea Rooms, they know about the history, and it's just, you know, it's not a pub, it's not somewhere where there's alcohol sold, so you can bring in children, and it's a nice environment to sit in.
Definitely the kind of the feeling that you get when you come in and you can see these fresh cakes and you can see the tea and the hustle and bustle that you get. It's a bit different from what you'd have in a kind of cafe or a restaurant. It's quite nice. It's comfortable. It's a bit cosy and it's a bit quaint.
I think just keeping it simple and accessible to people, not trying to be too clever.
And people can feel comfortable, enjoy the experience, and you know, they're happy to come in on their own or with their friends, or valued and things.
Personal service, everything's made on the premises, all the baking's homemade, we don't buy anything in. That makes a big difference. Everything's fresh, so every morning we do fresh scones, and people like that personal service.
I think ambiance is a key. I think service is also key. The food on the plate, of course, goes without saying. And having a little bit of personality. And I think if you look around at Tearooms, they do all tend to have their own personality.
Tearoom really needs to offer friendly but good service, being attentive, and quality of food and quality of tea, and just continuing throughout the whole time that the customers here to make sure that they have the best time possible.
And then I think individuality, uniqueness, quality of service is absolutely paramount, and quality of produce, and just ambience.
You can't have a good tea room without a good selection of tea. And that selection of tea has to be loose leaf, in my eyes, has to be served in a teapot. You know, whether that is with a strainer or an infuser, fine, I'm not bothered about that. But loose leaf tea, a nice cup, and a teapot.
Believe it or not, it's when every table's occupied and every customer is sitting chatting happily, enjoying, and there's just a nice buzz, but not, you know, a kind of, you know, no one's too loud. Everyone's just really into what they're doing. They've got good food, they've got good drinks, they've got good company, and they're in a nice environment, and everyone is comfortable.
In this tea room, there's been lots of nice memories in here. I think, you know, one weekend we had David Bowie in, we had the French president in, and we also had somebody from one of the police programmes that was on TV. So that's all quite exciting, you know, getting celebrities coming in. The girls love that. They probably know a lot more of them now than what I do.
Yeah, quite a few. Yeah, we get some characters in here. Lots of people from all over the world come in here as well, and they've all got kind of different story, a different relationship, kind of with tea, that whole, you know, our Britishness and cakes and tea and cream and scone and everything that it's probably very new to them, and they all kind of bring that here with them. It makes it a bit interesting.
A chap came in just recently, very ordinary looking pensioner type chap in the tweed jacket and the twill trousers, and he had a flat cap on which he took off and folded, and he had a huge silver and black badge on his lapel, which I couldn't actually read while I was taking his order because you're making eye contact with the person. But as I was pouring his coffee, I was able to read what it said on the badge, which was National Fancy Rat Society, which I didn't know existed apart from anything else. And it was only once he'd left one of my other customers I was telling her about this badge, and she said you know, he was sitting there and he was putting little bits of scone into his jacket pocket all the time he was there. So I guess he must have had one of his fancy rats in his pocket.
That would be tricky actually, because I can honestly say that I enjoy just working here. You know that today it's a special day because last night we won an award, and being told we're winning an award as being the best cafe bistro in Scotland, so that was very exciting, although it wasn't actually in the tea room. We've had other great things have happened, like we've had a book launch from here where one of the customers has written a book based on the tea room, loosely based on the tea room. A little dog, fictitious dog lives here called Mr. Tilly, and that's been exciting being involved in that.
Just seeing people's faces when they come in, and the comments that you get, the nice comments that you get, that it makes it all worthwhile.
Well, I had an Australian who'd say that he'd been in the UK for 18 days, and despite the fact we were in a tea room, said it was the best coffee that they'd tasted in that time. And I also had a couple who were from California, and they had taken it upon themselves to do a scone tour of the UK, and we were day 14 I think, and we were leading the scone tour at that point. So there's some memorable ones.
Probably the the very first day that we did a trial was because it was quite exciting for me. I've never ever done a Tearoom, so it was nice to get individual feedback from everybody that came. But probably it's just over the whole year, it's getting people coming back. We've had some events. We've had a lovely afternoon tea event for somebody's 90th birthday.
My favourite memories in the Tearoom are probably from before I owned it, strangely enough, because I used to come here quite a lot. And when my wee boy was just born, I used to come down here and I would sit at this table and have a cup of tea, and he would be sleeping in his pram, and I would just get to sit and enjoy the atmosphere and have a really nice cup of tea with a proper teapot and a bit of adult relaxation time. And I also had my hen party in here before I owned it as well.
Personally myself, I like Darjeeling.
My favourite tea style is Earl Grey.
Probably the one that I drink the most is lemon and ginger.
Well, what I'm drinking just now is a mixture of my Scottish blend and Darjeeling, half and half.
I like red. Real bush, red bush, without milk.
Personally, green.
Mine's is Assam.
Current favourite is our Give the Boss a Break.
I think my very favourite is Earl Grey.
My favourite tea is probably Moroccan mint. So it's a green tea with Moroccan mint leaves, and we actually make our own blend, and we put some lemon verbena in ours as well, and rose leaves.
So actual tea rooms, our favourites probably, because my husband is from Cornwall, are down in Devon and Cornwall, Somerset, Dorset, you know, the West Country tea rooms. And, you know, favourite ones would be ones that are just tucked away in the middle of nowhere, in a little village somewhere, you know, that, you know, are quirky and quaint. You know, they're in an old building, and, you know, they reflect the building, if you like.
We do visit quite a lot of tea rooms. Betty's of York was one tea room. After I had opened here, someone says to me, "You must go down to Betty's of York and see what it's like."
I've quite a few. I've been to the Claire's Tearooms, which was on Frederick Street. What else have I been to? There's Crumbs as well, down in Campbell's.
I've just recently been to the coffee place in Dunfermline and just met the guy that has that recently. Yeah, I tend to also order 2 cakes when I go into tea rooms just to make sure I've tried as much as I can.
In my previous life, before I owned this tea room, that's what I used to enjoy, going out for lunches and things, and I do, but I think, I mean, I still like going into other places, but you can't help looking at it and thinking, even working out whether they've got too many staff on or not enough staff, or, you know, just simple things. It's changed how I look at other businesses now.
The Hayloft at Falkland, Woodlands in Derbyshire, obviously, which is my dad's.
Loopy Lorna's in Edinburgh, Cups Tearoom in Thurso. These are ones that stand out. The Wallace Tea Room.
We haven't really got any other tea rooms as such in Carlisle. We've got coffee shops, and I've been to a few of those. And there is a little cafe that out of town that sort of says that there's a tea room, but it's more of a cafe.
In my travels down south, visit my daughter, and we go to different places in Bindle and Olney. So we've been to a few up Glasgow as well. What I do find is that now that I've got a tea room, I compare everywhere to this. So that's quite good. Spoils your ability to enjoy going into a tea room because you're always comparing.
I have visited other ones in Glasgow as well. Obviously there's Cup, which there's one in Byres Road, and then there's one in the city centre. And I like their range of teas as well, and their range of teas is very different to our range of teas. And even though some of the names look similar, you know, one Earl Grey is not the same as another Earl Grey, so it's nice to just taste other people's. in Glasgow as well, with there being, I don't know whether you've been to Child. Yeah, we used to sit in there many afternoons when I was still a student and just drink cups of tea after cups of tea after cups of tea. There's always the Turkish apple for some reason in there that I always used to have. It's not even really a tea.
I think it would be nice nowadays if more people were willing to kind of splash out and enjoy themselves, and actually kind of push the boat out a little bit to have special treats of a good cup of tea and possibly the afternoon cake stand, versus what appears to be the sort of general view of things, which you have to get sort of deals on things.
No, I think that what we're trying to do with etiquette at the Tearoom as well is get people, enjoying really good tea and baked goods and being still quite traditional, but we're a city centre cafe, we're very busy and kind of keeping it on, modernising it, I suppose, in a way as well.
I do like my wee tea room. My life's kind of evolved now, so I'm doing more other things. And if somebody wanted to buy the tea room, I would sell it, but I'm reluctant to let it go to somebody that's going to change it too much. I think it's important to keep it as it is.
It's hard work having a tea room. I think people think it's quite quaint to open a nice little tea room and bake a few cakes, but the reality is quite different. It's, when you close the door at night, there's still plenty of work to do, but doing the admin side of things and the marketing and the PR, that type of thing. So it's not just a case of prancing around serving a couple of cups of tea.
No, I just personally felt the feeling for this was dating back to the kind of early to mid 20th century. Some light background music, but when then customers come in, we would talk to them if they want to talk to you, sense when they don't want to. But the whole key thing is quality of ambience